This is the Red Hot Chili Peppers special on Channel V. It took 3 years for the band to release their 9th album, By the Way, the follow-up to 1999's Californication, which was their biggest album. 3 years might seem a long time for hungry fans keen for something new from their favourite band, but did it seem like a long time for the Chili Peppers themselves?
Not really, because even though 3 years seems like a long time between records, the fact that Californication was such a long-distance runner, it didn't seem awkward or like that we were going through a wasted patch of time. You know, we were on the road almost 2 straight years after that record came out, you know, back and forth from home and the road. And when we did come home before we started writing, I think maybe we took only 2 or 3 months off, you know, to go fool around and do our own thing before we were back in the rehearsal studio writing for this record. So it was a pretty seamless transition from, you know, Face Californication to the beginning of this one. It wasn't downtime or not know what to do time. It was a good time.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers performing live at Australia's most prominent festival, the Big Day Out, in the year 2000. The following year, the band started working hard on new material for their next album, By the Way. They spent more than half a year locked away solidly writing before even contemplating recording. As guitarist John Frusciante explains.
We ended up going to the studio with about 28 songs that everybody was crazy about. To me, we could have gone into the studio once we had 10 songs and you know, maybe come up with a couple while we were there and got done a lot earlier, but we just wanted to have...
Would have been a much different record.
Yeah, it would have been a much different record. I mean, we had, you know, we wanted to have a lot to choose from, so we could therefore have, you know, the perfect, you know, prime music, you know, on the record, and not just everything we have, but the best of what we have, which is a much, you know, which is a much finer thing.
There's always songs that you start off thinking are going to be your strong suit. When you first write them, you're like, well, that's a given. That's on our record. And then, you know, 5, 6, 7 more songs get born, and suddenly that song ends up meaning less. And then Rick hears everything, and you know, once we recorded basic tracks for, like John said, about 28. I only ended up finishing about 20 of those, or maybe
is that right?
No, maybe 25, which is easier said than done. And then comes the petitioning and the championing for specific songs, and that's a brutal process because you fall in love with these things and you put so much work into them. We all do, you know. Me, from a lyrical standpoint, you know, there's like a weird extra pain I think that I suffer when a song gets cut, because you know, I wouldn't have written it if I didn't really find a meaning that I wanted to express. And then we make lists. We all 5 of us, including Rick, make lists of our favorites, and you know, we have to list off.
Rick Rubin, longtime friend and producer, also worked on Californication, One Hot Minute, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic, notching up a massive 26 million sales worldwide, making them 3 of the biggest selling albums of the last decade.
Oh, we got songs.
You're watching an hour dedicated to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, a band that have been around for nearly 20 years and are known for their musical diversity, as guitarist John Frusciante explains.
The variety that we have of just jams and different styles going in and out of the rehearsal room is immense. I mean, every day it's something completely different. It's like, you know, to you, like, well, I mean, something like you know, that at the same time, that is what you try to do when you write a song. I think the goal is to make each song be its own special, unique thing. The goal is not to have like 15 songs that all sound like what you'd expect from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's our way of thinking, is to come in with something that no one would expect, rather than just to come up with stuff that's like everything else. You know, it's much more fun that way, and it's more fun to see the reactions of the different people, because, you know, if I write something that was the last thing Anthony would have expected to hear, he has sort of a free place at which to come at his vocals with. You know, it's more fun to write over something, I think, when it's something that you've never done something like that before. Whereas, you know, if all I would have come at Anthony with was like funk songs in the vein of, you know, like Blood Sugar Sex Magic or something, it might not have brought out such a spontaneous sort of, you know, melodic reaction in hearing it.
Ahead on V's Red Hot Chili Peppers special, the band reveal the secret do's and don'ts that have stopped them from calling it quits, plus an incredibly special live performance.
Oh, keep up.
This is a very Hot Chili Peppers special on Channel V. They've written some of the biggest rock songs in history, but do they reckon their songs and ideas are always up to scratch?
No, I think all ideas are good ideas. They don't always work, and they don't always evoke the same kind of inspiration from the person you're writing with. But I think we're smart enough not to poo-poo each other, because every idea has its worth, and it just doesn't always make sense. And I think that in the light of the band setting, eventually we all realize what works and what doesn't. There's a lot more, praise, if you will, for ideas than poo-pooing.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a band, you've really got to be considerate of the other people. If somebody sat there at home and put their heart into writing something, even if it's something that you don't feel like is going to work within the context of the band, you can't just say, "Are you joking?" Like you were saying, because it would kill the person. It's like what you put into it when you write music that's important to you is a really vulnerable part of yourself, and you don't want to have it trampled on, you know. So that's why when we write something good, or when the other one writes something good, the others always, you know, make them know that they think it's great, you know. And when something isn't good, or when it isn't going to work, whoever wrote it has to have the maturity to be able to not, you know, be offended when the others say that's just not going to work for me. I mean, you've got to, you know, we always try to be nice about it, but it always does still hurt sometimes. But you just, you know. But everybody, I mean, there doesn't ever end up being fights about it, because we are considerate about it.
There have been times when I've come in with an idea that I was worried would be poo-pooed, but usually those are the least poo-pooed of all the poo-poos.
From Californication, Other Side, a song that obviously didn't cop a poo-pooing from the band, who know how cutting it can be to have their idea poo-pooed by another Chili Pepper. But what does happen to all those songs and ideas that don't make the cut?
They wander off into the cosmos of where socks get lost. You remember Quixotic Elixir?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a jazzy flavor.
I remember the lyrical concept.
Yeah, I spent about 9 years working on the lyrics, and then we threw it out in a recording. It was like, this is not working, let's move on. I was like, okay, I just went through, 27 box of pencils to get this song happening.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers have accomplished so much in their career. They've created 3 #1 albums, which together have sold nearly 30 million copies around the world. They've survived the tumultuous 90s, unlike their contemporaries, Nirvana and Soundgarden, who found the lifestyle and fame all too much. On top of that, they're still making successful music. But is there anything the band feel they haven't achieved?
Yeah, make a lot of more records.
Yeah,
and that's just a given. We're kind of just getting started here. Like John said, you'd miss out on the whole phase of touring and traveling the world, by the way. But if we wanted to, we could stay home right now and make another great record, just because every time we go to rehearsal and we jam, there's a lot of life going on in this music, and I think there are many, many more. Maybe our best songs are yet to come, because we're just figuring out new ways of writing songs with each other, and that's it. That's what we haven't done yet, is made like 5 more records.
Yeah, I mean, I could see our music going any number of different ways, and I think the fact that the albums have been spread out by periods of time, I feel like we should still get done the amount of music that, that I've seen other bands like in the 60s or whatever get done in a period of like 7 years or 10 years or something. I think, you know, we might take another like 10 years, 20 years to finish that amount of good work, but I think we're definitely capable of it, you know.
That'd be hot.
Yeah, it would be great.
That'd be hot.
And you know, there's music is an infinite thing, and it's just so, it's so infinite what we'd be capable of doing, especially if we keep level heads and keep supportive of each other and stuff. And it's like nothing you know, should get in the way of a good songwriter's ability to you know, to grow. And
we don't have to do it alone either.
Good night, all. Thanks for coming. Until we meet again.